He was well known for his interpretations. He told that when Allah spoke about the birds dropping clay pellets, clay pieces of earth, dropping them on the army that came from Yemen to try to destroy the Kaaba, he said these were microbes, germs that killed them. Because for him, logically, birds picking up pebbles in their beaks and dropping it on his army is just not logical. This is the modernist, trying to make Islam, acceptable. And they are the ones who, in the name of Muslims, will change Islamic law one way or another. They will say, for example, if a man wants to take a second wife, he must take the permission of his first wife. You see? This is to make it acceptable to Western points of view. Or he can only take a second wife if his first wife is crippled. She can't have children. Some reason must be a good reason, acceptable reason to the Western mind. Though Allah tells us very clearly in the Quran, فَانْكِحُوا مَا طَابَ لَكُم مِّنَ النِّسَاءِ مَثْنَى وَثُلَاثَ وَرُبَاعَ. Marry, command. Marry of the women of your choice that are pleasing to you. 2, 3, or 4. He didn't start with 1. Allah started with 2, 3, or 4. No conditions except that we be just. And if you're not capable of being just, then only 1. But if you are capable of being just, treating them justly, then 2, 3, or 4. However, that is something not pleasing to Western civilization, which colonized the Muslim lands. So you find throughout the Muslim lands, modernist Muslim scholars have changed the laws of Islam in order to make it more acceptable. Another expression of rationalism is that, as I said, of the extremists. People who, in the name of Islam, executing people simply because they are in one way connected to the government. They have declared all Muslim governments and everybody connected to the government in the Muslim world as kafirs. If you are a school teacher, the government pays your salary, then you are a kafir. Your blood is halal, I can kill you. Where does this come from? Is this in the Quran? Is this from the Sunnah of Rasulullah ﷺ? Is this what his Sahaba did? No. There's no basis in Quran and Sunnah for this. This is modernist interpretation. You see, a modern interpretation. So it is very easy today in these groups, in a number of these groups, to declare anybody kafir, disbeliever. You don't agree with them, then you are with the enemy, you are a disbeliever. This is a major problem facing Islam today. The other is the secularists. You have people who are Muslims only in name. Maybe they don't even believe in Allah. They're just Muslims in name. Secularists. They believe you must separate religion from state completely. Religion has no place in state. Muslims will only advance if we set up, modern schools like the Western schools, following the Western pattern. Because Western technology and civilization didn't reach where it did without having learned. So we must take whatever they have and benefit from it and follow their path. Compete with them. These are the secularists. And Muslim communities around the world are suffering. The schools in Muslim countries, as well as in Muslim minority communities, are devoid of Islam. Islam is not there. Or if it is there, it is one subject taught a couple of periods in a week. This is the state of Muslims, where the human intellect is given precedence over revelation. The mind over what was revealed by Allah. Though Ali radiallahu anhu said, لو كان الدين بالرأي لكان أسفل الخف أولى بالمسح من أعلاه وقد رأيت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يمسح على ظاهر خفيه. If the religion were based on intellect, opinion, logic, then the bottom of the khuf, the sock, the leather sock, should be white rather than the top. That is the most important area to wipe, is the bottom. Bottom should be given precedence over any place else. But I saw the Messenger of Allah wiping the tops of his khuf. Not the bottom, the top. Right? This is found in Abu Dawood. Sahih Hadith. What is this saying? This is saying that we cannot give precedence to our intellect, our reasoning over revelation. No. Our reasoning tells us when you walk around in your socks, what is getting dirty? Because we think logically. Now, when we make wudu, we're washing the parts of our body which are exposed. Hands, face, feet. We wash these body parts that are exposed. So we're cleaning ourselves. There's a cleaning process happening here. This is logic. So similarly, when we walk about in our sock, which part is getting dirty? The bottom of the sock. So logic should say, if we're going to wipe the sock, we wipe the bottom, wipe off the dirt from the bottom. But the Messenger of Allah taught us to wipe the top and not the bottom. So we cannot take the religion and submit it to our logical interpretations. Because once you get into that frame of mind, you will be tripped and trapped. Because somebody will come to you and say, okay, since as you say Islam is based purely on logic, purely logical, then when you make wudu, after making wudu, washing your face, mouth, nose, exposed parts, and you get up from your place of wudu and you pass wind, you know, pass wind, you have to go back and you start to wash your hands. What is the relationship with your hands and mouth and nose and feet? You passed wind out of your behind. That's what you should be washing. This is logical. You see, but that's just not how it is. Yes, there is logic, there is wisdom, and Allah, whatever He has chosen for us is what is best. But we cannot assume that we are able to understand the wisdom and the logic of everything, so we only do what is logical. If we approach the religion in that fashion, we will surely deviate. So, as Muslims, we have to give precedence to revelation. Now, even in the time of the Sahaba, radiallahu anhum, may Allah be pleased with them, there were two different approaches amongst them towards the application of hadith. Ibn Umar, who was the scholar of Medina, Abdullah ibn Umar, he was what they call a literalist. He would just take the text of the hadith as it was, that's it. He didn't seek to get any deeper meanings and understandings, and no, he just went, that's how the hadith is, we just stop here. However, you had Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, who was the scholar who settled in Iraq. He used to try to get to understand the principles behind the hadith, which were linking them, and he used to apply his reasoning in areas which were not defined by the Quran and the Sunnah. So there was an approach which one could say, well, oh, here is one person depending only on revelation, here's another group using the intellect, the opinion, etc. However, this is not the same difference that we have today. In those days, precedence was given to revelation. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud didn't use his opinion in the application of Quran or Sunnah. Meaning that if a hadith comes on a topic, he's not going to use his mind and say, well, I think. No. You follow the hadith. Rasulullah has commanded us, we must follow this. Finish. But in areas which were not covered specifically by the Quran and Sunnah, then he sought to extract the principles from the hadith and apply them to these other areas. And he was well known for that. But in both cases, they gave precedence to revelation. So that difference is not as what we find today. With both groups representing the two paths of ignorance in our times, that of traditionalism and that of rationalism, both of them give precedence to human emotions, human interpretations, human rationalizations over revelation. Either they say, this is not what our parents were doing, they know better. Abu Hanifa knows better. You think you know more than Abu Hanifa? This is one approach. Or the other one is, times have changed. Religion must change with the times, must adapt. That was applicable in those days when Islam began on the deserts of Arabia. Society was wild. Women needed to cover up, protect themselves. These are different times. People are now educated and they can read and write, and society has changed. Women don't need to cover anymore. See, both of these represent aspects of the 20th century Jaahiliyyah. Now, the solution. The solution basically can be summed up in one word: education. Education is the key to solving the problems of Muslims today. Education in both the religion as well as in life, the needs of life. Education first and foremost in the religion, based on the Prophet Muhammad's command, Talabul ilmi farida ala kulli Muslim, seeking knowledge is compulsory for every Muslim. This is primarily knowledge of the religion. And where does that knowledge come from? The Quran and the Sunnah. So people need to be educated to go back to the Quran and the Sunnah to understand what is Islam. Because that is where Islam is. It is not in our practices, what we have inherited, what our society does, what our family does, etc. It is in the Quran and the Sunnah. We go back to the Quran by knowing, first and foremost, what is Allah telling us. The Muslim Ummah today, for the most part, raise their children. The religious amongst them, or those who have any kind of religious inclinations, raise their children in the madrasa tradition. They will bring a qari sahib to the house. He will